Many traders don't realize, but trend lines can be used as take profit levels, stop losses, and just several other different ways. And I'm going to show you some different tips on using trend lines. So let's go ahead and get started. So right here we have the Tesla chart. So this is a major pullback zone that we have, and so there is several different ways that we can use trend lines on a chart like this. And I'm going to show you here. And so what we want to do is you want to come all the way up to the daily chart. So that is the very first thing that you want to do. You want to go on the daily chart because these are going to be when the trend lines are the strongest. And so what you want to do is you want to map out the highs, and you want to point them. So basically, if there's a big pullback like this, you want to hit your trend lines on the very tip of these wicks right here, and you can actually see where it touched it right there. So there's actually 3 different points. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3 right here. And then you can see how this was trying to make it up there, but it just wasn't quite there. There was just too big of a sell off, and it just continued to go down. And so, but this trend line is still very important. It's actually a really important trend line, because if this if Tesla can continue to go build some momentum and go to the upside, this is inevitably going to bounce off of this trend line. So it's either going to bounce or it's going to break, but it still will respect this even all the way back here. So that is tip number 1. That is exactly what you look for. So basically, if you're all the way down here trading on the 15 or anything like that, you would never know that there is some level coming up here, all the way up here at 334, depending on when it would come up to that price. If it continues, if it does continue to climb, or if it does climb to the upside. Another way that you can use trend lines is by hitting these lows right here. And so actually we're here, remember, on the daily chart, and you want to draw your trend line at, and there's usually going to be a few. So you want to have at least 3, right? You want to have at least 3. So let's go ahead and zoom up on this. And so there's 3 points so there's 1, there's 2, and that's almost, and it's never going to be absolutely perfect. So if you think that you can just draw a perfect trend line every time, it's just not going to happen. But I like drawing at the very wicks, because it's just where it bounced. That's exactly where it bounced. And we can make this even a little bit better. So that's a little bit better there. But this is another key point. So you see there's actually 2 intersecting trend lines right here. So if the price can come up here now with Tesla, so now we have another spot that we could potentially target. So this could be a take profit level. So say we get in a trade right here, this could be our take profit. So whether it hits here, whether it hits up here, this could be our take profit level. And so and then basically you would just have a stop loss, whether you're doing a 1 to 3, 3 risk, or 3 reward to 1 risk, or something like that. But essentially that will be an area where you would look at for take profit. So if you're a buyer right now, you can actually do that. You can actually, this could be your target area, because it's going to either bounce, or it's most likely going to bounce, and it's most likely going to respect this trend line all the way back here. Okay. And then you can just, now, once you identify the lows and the highs right there, the 2 trend lines. So now you have a lot of information to go off of. So this is now when you can go down to the lower time frame. So let's go down to the 15-minute, and this is where you can start drawing your different smaller trend lines. So say something like, so this was actually a little bit of a break right there, but say I could see something like this. Actually, let's go up here a little bit more. So something like this, actually, I can see it. And so you can see it did try to break it. So again, remember, 3 points is what you want to, is usually 3 or more is, and as it continues to hit them, it is really starting to get stronger and stronger on these, either with a break or with a bounce, right? So right now we're actually in a very strong level to either go to the upside or to the downside. It's going to do something here, and you can see that it actually tried to break out and it got rejected. So if it can actually break out here, this is that target area. This is that trend line that we identified all the way back on the daily. That is a good key point to target. And again, you can just continue to do this as you go down on the time frames. So let's go ahead on the 5 minute. Anything different, anything that we can see down here, we can actually put this one. So here's another, and this one isn't quite, well, there's three. There is three. So there's 1, there's 2, and then there's 3 touch points. So I mean, there actually could be, so if this breaks this level right here, so there is some downside potential there, and it continued to go. And then what you would do with that, so these are all your trend lines. Then you can actually identify some support resistance zones. And to do that, you would just have a horizontal line. And so here's a low right here. So let's actually draw that there. Here's a low right there. Let's draw that there. Anywhere where you can see that that is support or resistance, you'll just basically just draw a line right there. And so now you can see that. So see how that line all the way down here on the lower time frame, it just doesn't make sense up here. And so many traders are down here, and I see this all the time. They're down here and they say, if this breaks this, goodbye this stock, whatever the stock is. I just chose Tesla here, just because it's just really, there's a lot of stuff happening with it right now. But a lot of people will say, oh, it's over. This stock is over. That broke this, but remember that the higher the time frame, the stronger something like these trend lines are going to be. And so when you do different techniques like this, you're going to have different ways to take profit. So if you have a strategy where you're in and you want to find a good place, because I see this all the time as well, a lot of people are asking, where do I exit? Where's the best exit point at this, on this trade, on this options trade, on, whatever, because options, especially with an options trade, if you're up big here, you could be up 150%. Then the very next day, if it drops a couple percent, you'll be down a lot, probably 50, 60, 70% on that position. And so it's really critical that these different levels. And so when you do a top-down analysis like this, just going from the daily chart, and this is, by the way, this could work with this could work with pretty much anything out there, with crypto, with Forex, futures, pretty much anything like that. When you start to do this, you're gonna really notice how price respects these lines. And so this isn't just something that it's just isn't something that you're making up. You can go on any chart, right? Let's just go, for instance, on Apple, and you can see different times where trend lines will get respected. Even something like this, right? Even something like this with this trend line. So see how that right there, and this wasn't quite something like that. It almost actually touched that, but this was 1, 2. Again, that was very close. It's not as close as I would, like, but what we notice here is look at this level. And I actually have some example trades for another strategy down there, but look at all this stuff, right? So while this didn't hit here, look at this. And so this is just all and it kept respecting, and it ended up going up. But look what happened when it broke it right there. So if you were down here so let's actually go do that. Let's go all the way over here. So if you were down on this lower time frame, right? A lot of people may have not seen this, right? So a lot of people wouldn't know that there is a major trend line from the daily chart that it was actually, and this was probably down like this because it looks like it was bouncing. So 1, 2. So if you're down here on the 15-minute chart, you might have not seen this. And then look at what happened if, it just kept breaking. And in fact, look at this right here. You notice that there's a lot of eyeballs on this, right? So this was a fake pump right there. So that was a start of the session. And, traders are just buying calls. Oh, we're back. but then all of a sudden, look at that, it just reversed. And that was the power. This was this trend line. There was a lot of people focused on this trend line break, and they just thought that that was it. You know, everything was back. We're back, and then sure enough, you get taken out. And so this is kind of just a video just showing you the power of what these things can do when you start to zoom out on the daily chart and notice just how much it respects. And look, it continued to respect this on the daily chart. This was that breakout right there. And they continue to respect it even all the way up here until February before it finally broke out. And so again, there's several different, and we can even do the same thing now. There's only 2 points here, but there's 1 and there's 2. So eventually Apple, if it goes up, Apple will eventually come all the way up here to this trend line, whether it'll be right here, whether it'll be right here, whether it'll be right here. It'll eventually make its way to this trend line for a 3rd point. And you know, it'll either break it or it'll have a nice little bounce. So you could do different positions right there. But the purpose of this is just to show you how much these charts respect these trend lines. So hopefully that was informational for you. If it was, go ahead, leave a quick little thumbs up, leave a like, and I would definitely appreciate it. Maybe even a comment, just to let us know that you get it, right? So even if you just say yes, yes, thank you, I understand, that would be great. So, all right, guys, that's it for me, and I will catch you guys in the next video.